Well, hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Stephen. So, this week's blog is entitled Coney, Barrett, and as you probably have guessed, it is all about President Trump's Supreme Court nominee. Unless you were living under a rock last week, you probably already know that President Trump has picked Judge Barrett to replace Justice Ginsburg, after she passed away. When this happened, the left and the Democrats completely lost their mind. They are incredibly upset that President Trump has the temerity to nominate somebody this close to the election. Now, having said that, that's utterly irrelevant. They don't really give a crap one way or the other whether or not it's this close to the election. They simply don't want him being the one to nominate a Supreme Court justice. What they want is a Biden victory so that Biden can nominate a Supreme Court justice. If Donald Trump ends up winning, they will be just as upset that he has the opportunity to replace the seat. This will be primarily because it shifts the balance of power fully on the side of the conservatives. Now, I have to caution you, a lot of times people think of conservatives and liberals in the same context that they would be thinking about their friends or other politicians. In a judicial setting, it becomes a little bit more problematic. You can be a conservative jurist politically, but actually be somewhat of an activist from a judicial standpoint. There is a difference. Judicial activism, whether it's coming from a right-wing perspective or a left-wing perspective, in my opinion, is extraordinarily damaging to the republic. An originalist and a contextualist uses the Constitution to create a baseline freedom. Now, politically speaking, most conservatives tend to gravitate towards originalism, but that's not by any stretch of the imagination an absolute, unequivocal statement. We've seen judicial activism from the standpoint of conservative jurists before in the past. Now, Barrett does definitely appear to be an originalist as well as a contextualist. In fact, I would say she probably falls somewhere in line between Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, which is kind of ironic since both of them are Trump appointees themselves. That being said, the one wild card on the bench right now has been Justice Roberts. Arguably, a Justice Barrett would effectively neuter the vagaries of a Justice Roberts siding with the liberals. So it's definitely going to move the court in the direction of originalism. Now, the reason the left is so uncomfortable with that is that the left has never been in a position where they've been able to actually get legislation passed through Congress that they felt comfortable with, especially the legislation that they knew was fundamentally unconstitutional. So it requires either the Supreme Court to hold their water for them and actually create legislation from the bench, which is incredibly problematic and complete abrogation of our constitutional republic, or alternatively uphold legislation that came out of the legislature that is arguably unconstitutional, but the court is trying to advance a political agenda. Barrett seems to throw a monkey wrench into the entire mix. There is also, and it would be improper not to discuss it, there is also an argument about her religiosity. She happens to be a very devout Catholic. And Senator Dianne Feinstein, during her appellate court confirmation, seemed to be incredibly troubled about this. I find this anti-Catholic mindset to be both disgusting and entirely inappropriate when it comes to any sort of government test to see whether or not somebody is qualified to sit on the bench or for any public office for that point. I will tell you categorically that no one on the left would find themselves to be particularly concerned if someone was a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Muslim, or even a Protestant. But apparently, Catholic dogma seems to be a little too much for them to handle. Unless, of course, the Catholic that we're talking about is ex-Vice President Biden or Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. They seem to get a pass now, don't they? In any event, read the blog. I hope you enjoy it. Blog will be going up online on our website at artemishq.com/blog on Wednesday morning of this week. As always, you can comment directly on the blog itself, or you can send me an email at stephen@artemishq.com. And as always, train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe.